Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 45 of Own the Road with AutoTrader, where we make car stuff simple for Canadians. My name is Jody Lai, and I'm the editor-in-chief of AutoTrader.
And my name is Dan Alika, and I am AutoTrader's road test editor.
Welcome back, everybody. It is a new year.
New year, same gripes.
Same old crusty hosts.
Yes.
I hope you all had a restful holiday and are feeling charged up for the new year.
Whoa! That was a bit of a pun given today's topic.
Charged up. So today, Dan and I are going to be talking about EV mandates and misinformation.
Yeah.
So, 2024 is obviously going to be a big year for EVs. Every year it gets more and more important. And for some reason, it also gets more and more controversial every year, which I don't think should be the case. But let's get into it.
Yeah, so this was kind of, sparked. See, I'm getting in on the EV puns. This was sparked by the federal government announcing some new legislation that is going to ensure that there is EV supply or zero emission vehicle supply to meet demand. For those of you who don't know, the government has targeted eliminating internal combustion powered passenger vehicle sales by 2035. Now, first of all, before we even really get into the misinformation, just keep in mind, this is a target, okay? This isn't like no matter what happens, it's coming whether you like it or not. I mean, it is coming whether you like it or not, but like it's subject to change, right? But it's just like this is the road that we're on. Lots of other countries are doing the same thing, including the United States. Now, it's obviously a much larger market. It's going to take a little bit longer, but the UK has the exact same timeline and the difference in wording, the language that Canada uses is just to like eliminate, internal combustion. It's a lot more Canadian and friendly. In the UK, the government's language is banning the sales of new gas and diesel powered vehicles.
Are people going bananas over that language? I would love to know.
I don't know, but people in Canada are going bananas over this idea. First, so this started, December. The government announced this new legislation that would help. So what it is it's just ensuring that as more countries, we've seen it for years now, right? It's the reason why you're on a 3-year wait list to get a plug-in hybrid from your local Toyota dealer, right? Supply is not able to keep up with demand because there are bigger markets. We're all fighting for the same selection of vehicles. So the federal government basically wants to force automakers to offer the inventory to begin with, to make sure that there are enough vehicles to meet the growing demand here. The response to this has been, first of all, I don't know what rock so many Canadians are living under that this is what sparked them to be like, what? How dare you? This has been years in the making, and the government has made this clear. First of all, Canada does not exist in a vacuum, okay? We are not the only country that's doing this. Those of you out there who are blaming Justin Trudeau and whatever, it is so outrageous to me. Let's keep in mind that conservative governments, including in the UK, are doing the exact same thing. Climate change is real. It's coming. We need to do what we can. The UN says, I think it's 15% of global GHG emissions are attributable to road transportation. Not transportation in general, including, airlines and ocean freight and all that stuff. Just talking about the vehicles on the road. So if we can eliminate that is going to go a long way to achieving the much needed targets that are going to make sure that there is a world for your children to enjoy. That is the simple matter here. Mm-hmm. That this has become such a lightning rod for misinformation, for lies, for outrage, that is so stupid. It just makes me think, and I said this to you earlier, Jody, when cars started to become a thing, were there all of these like crazy people being like, no way are you taking away my horse and buggy? Like, come on, man, this has changed. And so some of the comments that I've seen, one of them, which I'm not surprised because there are a lot of idiots out there. That's just how it is. Somebody said that basically pollution is happening because we're letting immigrants into the country.
Oh, come on.
I mean, I can't sit here and just let that fly. Come on, get a grip, man. That is the dumbest thing I have read in a long time. It's xenophobic. It's pretty despicable that you would even post that publicly, let alone think it privately. But some of the other stuff, some of these comments include, freedom of choice taking another hit. Listen, you're free to do a lot of things in this country, in this world, but emitting pollution just for the sake of it, that's not freedom.
Yeah.
Like, that's like saying, well, I want to dump my garbage wherever. I want to keep burning my garbage, or I want to just go dump it on the street. Why don't I have the freedom to choose to do that? Like, get a grip.
Yeah, I think a lot of these people just don't understand the importance of the greater good. Like it's to me it's a very selfish thing to be
Yes.
like, "Well, you'll rip my diesel powered truck out of my cold dead hands." Like, first of all, no one's coming for your truck.
And again, this is banning new car sales after 2035. So you will still be able to buy used cars. You will still be able to keep your I read comments about this of people like, "Hey, you know, that's it. You better get ready." You may as well. I read a comment on a certain Canadian news media website that somebody commented, "Well, you better, flip your gas powered car now, or get ready to sell it for the scrap while the value's still good, because come 2035, it's going to be worthless." Nobody's taking the car away from you. If you bought a car, whether it's 2024 or 2034, right up until midnight on New Year's Eve, if you buy a gas-powered vehicle, you can drive that thing into the ground. Nobody is going to take that away from you. And it's not like there are 12,000 gas stations in this country. What do you think? They're all just going to shut up shop on January 1st, 2035 and be like, well, it was good while it lasted. Like, again, apply a little bit of logic here. Stop, get out from under your tinfoil hat in your tinfoil house and think about the reality of the situation. Somebody also commented to me that it's like, well, when was the last time you saw a VCR? And it's like, yeah, it's been years, man, but I still see DVDs. Mm-hmm. Right? Sitting here and saying that, trying to equate gas-powered cars to VCRs in the era of streaming doesn't even make sense. So it's just like, I don't know why there's such a fear of change. And I mean, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised, but it's just this idea that people are so afraid of the unknown that they lash out in bizarre ways. And it's like, how could you argue that we need to do more? And I don't think, Jody and I have both said this, EVs are not the answer, in my opinion.
No, they're not for everyone, especially right now with the current state of infrastructure. EVs are not the solution for everyone right now, but that's not to say it won't get better.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, and I would
It
love
has
to
to.
see hydrogen power become, the thing. Is that going to happen in the next 11 years? I don't know. Maybe that could easily, change the course of things. So it's not like I'm saying to you, rush out and buy a Mazda. What's that stupid little thing called? The MX-30 with 135 kilometers of range or whatever. And it's like, well, that's it for you. It's like, no, I think the technology is going to get better. The industry, keep in mind, the auto industry is not going to do this. Well, it's just putting catalytic converters in cars in the first place. That stuff has to be mandated by the government because private industry is not going to take those steps on its own. That's just the reality. So it's like, if you look at the outcome of, the oil crisis back in the day, small cars were born. People, weren't going to pay all this outrageous money for these, big gas guzzlers. So the Honda Civic and all these little hatchbacks were born, and now you see them everywhere. And that's just sometimes what it takes. I think the technology is going to get better. I think the vehicles are going to get better. There's going to be more range. I do think we're going to have to adapt. And I am not saying that, yes, some people say, city dwellers, you think they're actually better for, people who live outside of the city. Mm-hmm. Because when you live in the city, access to, home, your building, my building, we don't have the infrastructure to charge at home. I am with you. Going to, shortly after this episode airs, I have a trip planned to northern Quebec, mm-hmm. Up to the eastern shores of James Bay. Do I think that when I go up there that there's going to be any EV chargers. No, I get it. It's not ideal, but also like we need to be doing something. We can't just say, well, like, sorry, EVs don't work, so let's just keep doing what we're doing. That's not a viable solution.
Yeah, I do think plug-in hybrids are they should get more love than they do now. I think it's a good kind of stepping stone in the right direction, but
I
it's
think it
not
was a
there
stepping
yet.
stone that should have been there 10 years
Yes,
ago.
absolutely.
It's too late for that now, in my opinion. And again, I hate playing, whataboutism. It's such a slippery slope. I do think that, the airline industry needs to get better. And there have been, I remember late in 2023, there was a story about the first like transatlantic flight running on biofuels. I think, the cruise ship industry is pretty despicable. And that is something that really needs to be cleaned up, especially because at least with cars, and where I get the argument is like, well, cars, are what we use to get to work, to like it helps people, right? It's a tool. It's not, just a luxury item. A cruise ship is just a luxury. You're just, floating out there in the ocean while this thing puts its big smokestack into the sky and belches all this disgusting, pollution. It's like, yeah, that needs to be cleaned up too. But whataboutism isn't going to solve things, because then it just becomes this vicious circle of like, well, until the auto industry does something, we shouldn't have to do something either. And then the auto industry says, well, if the airline industry is not going to do anything, then we're not going to. So it's like we all have to be doing stuff. I don't think plastic bags and straws are the answer, but hey, tough. That's the way it goes, man. It's just like this with gas powered vehicles. We got to get rid of them.
Yeah, and that's just the greater good thing again. Like we have to do this because it is we are in dire need of doing something. Like
Yeah.
we can't just sit here and let climate change happen.
And emissions are actually like, it's gone through a bit of it was a lull and now it's back up, and not just pandemic related, but it's like it's gotten worse. So even though we have more EVs on the road, than whatever, 20 years ago, you couldn't buy an EV. You could buy a couple hybrids. That was about it. But it's like the emissions are higher now than they were, a decade ago even. So we do need, like, we're on the bad side of things, and we need to get better. And rest assured, A, this is not new. B, these new government mandates are going to help. And C, you're nobody's taking your car. So chill, man.
Yeah, a part of me doesn't really understand why EVs have been so politicized.
It's a lightning rod for stupidity.
Yeah. I mean, even in this one video that you did, at this point it was like last year, it has 310,000 views on it, okay? The title is 5 facts to consider before buying an EV. And in this video, Dan's just talking about like, where are you going to charge it? Take a note of where the charge port is. Is it accessible? This kind of like just fact-based, warnings and stuff. The comment section in this video is just so bonkers to me, and there's so much misinformation going on. And one of the things that I see pop up all the time is the notion of like, well, what are you gonna do when the battery dies and you have to pay $20,000 to replace it? This argument gets brought up all the time,
Yeah.
and it is so misleading and just made up. Whenever you see this, I just want to reassure you that it is not going to happen.
And also, like, let's keep in mind, that's the thing I don't understand. How many people have you heard stories of where it's like, oh man, my warranty ended, and then 16 months later, my engine blew and I had to spend $8,000 to replace it. It's like, yeah, it's not an EV thing. Now, the chances of that happening, yeah, you hear stories, but it's just like I say, what do you hear? People don't talk about, oh my God, did you hear about Steve? He's living his best life in retirement. No, you hear, oh, did you hear about Jim? He died. You only hear the bad stories.
Right.
So it's just like EVs. You hear one story about a battery having to be replaced, and everybody goes, well, that's it. That's how all EVs are. And it's like, no, man, once again, apply a bit of logic, and you will know that that's not the case, and that batteries are actually exceeding their projected lifespans. And then you have companies out there that are able to reuse these, repurpose them, both recycle the materials back into new batteries, use them as energy storage. So all of these other complaints about where are we going to get the power from? Well, A, the grid is obviously going to have to, expand, but B, if we have energy storage solutions, then we're not going to have to where everybody's like, oh, we're going to have how many comments on that video? What are you going to do when we have these rolling blackouts because of all these EVs we have plugged in?
So many of them.
Do you really, once again, do you think I am not here to champion any government? There are some idiots that work in government, but do you not think that there are people out there thinking, hey, we got to do something about this? Or you think they're just going to say, no, it's fine the way it is? Like, come on. Once again, just apply logic.
Yeah, and a lot of these comments are like, "Oh, just imagine, the cost of electricity when everyone's relying on it." Like, stuff like that is just you're making stuff up. Like,
Exactly.
there's no proof to say that it's going to happen.
There's no,
everyone relies on gas right now. You don't see them trying to hose us on gas.
I saw a couple points on that. One, why not apply the rules of supply and demand? Stuff usually gets cheaper the more people that buy it. So there's just as much reason to believe that electricity is going to cost less. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. I'm just saying that's how the world works. Also, this idea, somebody said, and I mean, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't, but there was a post about that, charging my EV and, I can't do it at home. And somebody's like, well, you don't have a gas pump in your garage, so why all the, and I both understand and I don't, but the point being that solutions are either there currently or they are going to be, they're going to come to fruition over the next 11 years.
Yeah, and especially like once these kind of mandates take effect, we have to assume that the technology is going to catch up. Electric cars are going to have more range, faster charging, less sensitivity to extreme conditions in the weather.
Yeah.
Like all of this is going to happen, and the automotive industry just continually is improving and innovating.
But it does have to be that is the reality. Whether it's like, yes, okay, you have brands like, Volvo that has really helped to accelerate safety. Even Tesla has done a lot to make its vehicles safer without, having some government agency, breathing down its neck about it. But the point is that often, whether it's fuel economy, right, CAFE regulations back in the day in the U.S. that we adopted here in Canada effectively, that wasn't the industry self-regulating. That was government being like, sorry, you got to do this. Safety is another one. Do you think, I'm telling you right now, and I used to work for a car company, these companies are not in the business of giving things away for free or doing things just because. Do you think that seatbelts would exist if they weren't mandated? Heck no.
No.
That still costs money, and they're not going to do it just for fun. It's the reason why we're seeing these inflator kits instead of full-size spare tires, because the side that they always err on is, no, well, it's heavy and we're trying to improve the... No, man, it's more expensive, so you opt for this little tiny inflator kit, pass the cost on to the consumer. That's how car companies work, okay? So without having the government there to say, gotta do this, no car company would be, except for a couple of them, would be going down this path.
Even though the science says that they should do something, like use seatbelts as an example, like the science said, you'll get ejected from your car, and it'll increase your chance of death if you get into a collision. And still knowing that, I think a lot of automakers, if they weren't mandated, wouldn't put seatbelts in their car.
That's just the way it works. And I'm not calling out, any specific company. And yes, it seems like a no-brainer, to say, oh, who wouldn't do that? The point is just that without regulation, nobody's telling them what to do. These car companies are going to do, and Tesla is an example of that, of cutting corners. Oh, NHTSA in the U.S. isn't actively, enforcing us to shut off autopilot. Yeah, we're going to keep doing it as this beta test. That's how these companies work, and that's why we need government agencies to step in and provide some direction, and they need to do it and have it on the books, because there are lawyers in legal departments at every car company that will fight tooth and nail to roll back any regulation until it's on the law books. Sorry, I'm really fired up about this.
You are really charged up.
Wow, another
one, but I mean, you used that earlier, so I don't think that one counts. But yeah, I don't know, EVs, again, they're not the solution for everyone, especially right now. I also see a lot of comments on that video about like, well, what if I have to tow my trailer? What am I supposed to do? You're still welcome to use a diesel truck to do
Yeah.
that, you know? It's
Also, I've said this before, the reality is life has to change, right? It's, we've been pretty lucky to be able to, especially in, in a country like Canada, to kind of do what we want. I don't think that that's going to be a thing anymore until something happens that does allow it to be the case, where, RVing your way to Alaska or what. Yeah, it's like that's not, that doesn't jive with electrification. Who knows? Maybe hydrogen is the answer and that's the way you'll be able to do it. But it's like, I don't think, yeah, the Ford F-150 Lightning, the all electric pickup truck, the first time we had some colleagues that towed, and it was extremely underwhelming. It couldn't tow more than like 150 miles. And it's like, yeah, that's just the reality. I don't think that, lifestyles are going to jive with the need. But what, to me, the future supersedes your desire to pull a big trailer behind your pickup truck and go fishing somewhere else. I don't know, man. The Credit Valley is right there if you live in the GTA. Like, you don't need to be going out into the backwoods. If that means that, again, your kids and your grandkids have a planet to be able to go fishing themselves. Like, to me, it's kind of selfish to say, well, what if I want to pull a trailer and run? There was a guy that commented on this story about the government regulations. And once again, this is just enforcing the industry to have supply for us. And some guy said, in the spirit of all of this, I'm going to make sure to put my ATVs in the back of my diesel truck and drive out and go rip around on the trails for a bit. And it's like, that's spiteful. That's the kind of behavior that it's like, you're the reason why we need these regulations. It's just nonsense. And again, I don't know why it's such a lightning rod.
Yeah.
It's been politicized. It's this idea, like everybody says, that it's somehow, it's a left thing. Again, conservative governments have done the same thing. It's just the reality of the world, of the climate. Why are we seeing these wildfires everywhere? Why are we seeing huge chunks of polar ice caps floating out into the ocean, past research vessels? It's like, because the world is rejecting us. We're bad guests, man. We're pretty terrible residents, and the planet is telling us that, we're overstaying our welcome unless things change.
Yeah, I think like personal convenience does not outweigh the need to change the situation at all. And I know it sucks. Like it's we love sports cars, we love big old V8s, but we can also, as automotive enthusiasts, acknowledge the fact that like they're not always going to be there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Just because I want to see this world live on.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, Jody and I don't have kids. We're not doing this for, it's like, if anybody's like, oh, like I'm leaving here in a, in a ball of fury and fire, it could be us, but it's like, we want to make sure that there's still a planet left. I'm not just going, to hell with it. That's not my problem.
Yeah, it's like we have no heirs.
I still care, and you should too anyways.
Are you okay, Dan?
Yeah,
You got really heated.
It's been exhausting.
I know. This is a very strong and controversial start to the year.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just annoying to me that people have this take. And to your point, it's like, yeah, it sucks. And it is just like anything in life when somebody tells you got to change the way you're doing it. But it's like this idea of saying, like that it's taking away our rights, taking away the power of choice. Like, look, man, somebody's got it. Clearly, you're not responsible enough to make these decisions. If you have that thought process, then you're not responsible enough to make the right decisions, and that's why the government's stepping in.
Boom. Mic drop.
Anyways.
Okay, so before our Ask an Expert segment, here's a message from your friends at AutoTrader. Save time and money by using AutoTrader, Canada's most trusted place to buy and sell new and used cars. AutoTrader has the most cars, and one of the best features is price badging, so you can feel more confident that you're getting a good deal. Today's question comes to us from our buddy Maroon again.
Maroon.
I recently drove to Philadelphia in my EV to watch the Eagles against the Cowboys. I had 3 guys who drove gas-operated cars, and we had a great conversation about my car versus the other. So just as a reminder, Maroon has a Tesla Model 3 that he's very happy with. My question, I can't imagine making the same drive with an EV that can only charge on level 2 because the trip would be so much longer.
Oh, impossible.
Are you aware if there are other EVs that are able to charge on level 3 chargers? This is the main reason why I purchased my Tesla, because of the charging infrastructure, thus removing my fear of running out of juice. Great question. So these days, I think like almost every single EV you can buy is capable of charging at level 3 or DC fast charging speeds.
Yeah, technically, there's no such thing as level 3. You got level 1, level 2, and DC fast charging. And it's because the connector's different, right? So to your point, Maroon, and really nowadays it's a plug-in hybrid thing that they only have the CCS charger. It becomes a DC fast charger when it adds that the second sort of set of prongs underneath. Like every vehicle, every EV can charge at level, what you would call level 3, but DC fast charging now. And to make matters even better, although it's not here just yet, is that lots of brands have adopted what's called the NACS system, so the Tesla charger. So the one that your Model 3 uses, Maroon, is the North American Charging Standard, I think is what it stands for. GM, Volvo, I think Hyundai and Kia, we have a story on the website. We can throw a link up that we're adding to every time another automaker announces that it's adopting the NACS charger.
Yep.
Now, it is important to note, GM is one of these brands. Jody just drove the Chevrolet Blazer EV. It does not have, as of the current version that she drove, did not have the Tesla connector. 2 points. That's very easy for an automaker to swap something like that out mid-year in a production
or send you an
process.
adapter.
And then, the adapter. I don't think they're going to send, because like we talked about earlier, these guys don't do things for free. I think people that bought a vehicle like the Blazer EV, people who buy early Kia EV9s, all of that stuff, you're going to have to buy, but I don't think it's going to be very expensive. So, but you're right. Like, I would not want to make that drive unless I was retired and had all the time
but even
in the world.
so, like, if you can charge on a DC fast charger and it's a warm, nice day, most EVs today can get you from like 10 to 80%, half an hour.
Yeah, half an hour to 45 minutes is kind of the norm. And that means, you could, at highway speeds, Maroon, as you probably noticed during your drive, like it does take more energy to move an EV at highway speeds over a sustained period. So, but let's even say that 10 to 80% gets you 300 kilometers, and the drive to Philly is, I don't know, it's from Toronto anyways, it's probably about 800 to 1,000 kilometers, somewhere in that range. So you probably have to stop 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Is that pretty normal? I'd say so.
I'd say so, especially if you can stay in a place that has charging overnight.
Yeah.
Then you don't even need to do a fast charger. You can just plug it in overnight, wake up in the morning, and be at 100%.
So, but it's a good question. And yeah, it's definitely something that the industry has addressed or is currently addressing.
Yeah, and a lot of automakers have signed up to use or to switch over to Tesla's charger. If they haven't already, I feel like they will soon.
Yeah.
It's just one of those changing standards that I think everyone will have to adopt in order to make EVs much more convenient for everybody.
The smartest thing that Tesla ever did was establish that charging network early on. And now it's able to, effectively license the use of those charging stations to non-Tesla owners. Is it going to upset current Tesla owners? Absolutely, because Tesla owners tend to be, a little bit,
elitist?
They get their backs up about things. I can't imagine what that first, trip to the supercharging network is going to look like when there's a bunch of non-Teslas there and there's going to be some grumpy Tesla owner. But I'll tell you who's not going to be that grumpy Tesla owner. It's going to be our pal Maroon.
That's true.
'Cause
Maroon
Maroon's a
is a
good
big
guy.
EV advocate in general.
Good guy.
Yeah.
No, I have no fear over that. Other Tesla owners, yeah, maybe.
I mean, the ones that park in our parking garage in the green spots that aren't plugged in.
They don't even plug in. It's
Shameful.
great. Jody, we were doing good. We were back to positivity, and now I'm all fired up again.
That's okay. I'm just going to end this episode right here. Thank you, Maroon, for your question. If any of you have questions you would like to ask Dan or I, you could email expert@trader.ca and we'll try to answer it in a future episode. Next episode, we're going to be talking about the AutoTrader Awards.
Ooh.
'Tis the season. AutoTrader Awards are my favorite thing that we get to do all year. And we're going to announce the winners in the next episode, so do not miss that one. Until next time, drive safe.
Bye, guys.
Catch you the next episode.